Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 375 for December 17th, 2024. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, Travis Hunter from Colorado wins the 90th Heisman Trophy. The NFL is heading to Madrid and Berlin for international games in 2025, and Bill Belichick becomes the new head coach at the University of North Carolina. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Hello, I'm here. I finally got my World of Football t-shirt that I ordered from our store. I think it got lost in the mail because I got the sweatshirt fairly quickly, and then this took forever because I ordered them at the same time. So there's merch. Go buy it.
Yeah, I ordered a different version of the sweatshirt and t-shirt, the different logo on it, and they haven't said it's shipped yet, so I'm sure after the first of the year is when I'll get it. But looking forward to getting that.
Yeah, and probably going to look into a different t-shirt place too, just feeling things out. So, yep.
Okay. Something new for 2025.
Yes, we shall see.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the descriptions of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You'll find over 475 videos on our YouTube channel, including the latest episodes of Just Lying Around, the Lions versus Bills preview and recap. There was our weekly picks for Week 15. Also, upcoming videos, we've got Just Lying Around, the Lions-Bears preview and recap, and our NFL picks for Week 16.
Yeah, that'll be on a quick timeline next week because we got Christmas Day games to worry about, so we'll probably have to get the picks up a day earlier. So
yeah, that's true.
But there'll also probably be a Monday night game. So
yeah, I think there is.
So yeah, we're gonna have to probably just record before the Monday night game for the next week.
Now you're Just Lying Around the Bills recap with you and Kyle. That was episode number 50 of that podcast.
Can you believe it? Somehow the two of us have gotten to 50 episodes. And I don't know. I mean, Kyle's come a long way since we started this show. He's really taken a lot of it on his own now.
Well, these previews, it's like a 45.5, 46.5. So he's done several of those on his own. So good for him.
Translated, that means he's finally carrying his weight around here.
Please.
I mean, he's done a good job with them. He's got some good information. He's getting better as a personality.
Yeah, he's settling into a groove, and I like it.
I like when he comes to me. He's like, I got this idea to do this thing. I'm like, all right, well, go do the thing.
What?
Go do the thing, and then I will help out where I can because I like that he can be independent like that. And hope we can just get you to do this. Yeah. Be independent.
It's only been 7.5 years. Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, you can't teach an old horse new tricks. Instead, you're going to just take it out back and shoot it.
Okay. So
that catch you off guard?
It did a little bit. I'm not sure if you're serious or not. So let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we start off this week with Week 15 in the NFL.
That's right. Week 15 was being touted as one of the better weeks. I mean, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. Teams are clinching. Teams are getting eliminated. And we had a slew of games that should have been downright awesome. And it should have started on Thursday night. But instead, we got the first game of the year to not have a single touchdown during the game as the Los Angeles Rams beat the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco, or Santa Clara, wherever the heck they actually play, 12-6. What a snooze fest this game was.
I watched a little of that, and I couldn't take it anymore.
I mean, after the Rams hung up 40 points last week against the Buffalo Bills, they come out this week, they can't even get in the end zone. Matthew Stafford, after looking awesome the week before, just the weather, the elements, all that played a factor. So the big story though coming out of this game was that player whose name I'm blanking at the top of my head because we didn't write it down. It should have been the big story from this game. And Randy's just looking at me like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Somebody walked out of the game." Yes, Dad.
I did 100 other things. I forget one thing.
So I'm like struggling to find the guy's name. So thanks a lot for helping prepare. Let's see.
You're welcome.
Yep. So I'm struggling. Can you fill in airtime? What did you watch from this game?
Let's see. Rams and 49ers. I expected a much better game. And like you said, it was a snooze fest. I watched some of it. I got bored with it. I went on to something else, and I just checked the score the next morning because I kind of thought the Rams would win, but I didn't expect it to be so bad.
So in the middle of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, Devondre Campbell walked out. I guess the coaches were going to tell him to go into the game, and he said nope, and so he just left. A lot of drama there. I guess he was playing backup to Greenlaw, the linebacker that came back from injury. He got injured during the Super Bowl, so it was like his first game back. So apparently he was upset that. I think he was upset. I'm sure more's come out. I really haven't seen much in the last couple of days, but that he was upset that he was getting replaced by a Pro Bowl linebacker and blah blah blah, and just kind of didn't feel like going in the game. And I don't know how I feel about this. It stinks to see a player just give up and just leave like that. I'm sure those guys in that locker room, it doesn't help. You know,
didn't they suspend him for like 3 games? I thought I read that they suspended him for 3 games, which is basically the rest of the season.
I think they might have. I have not seen anything official. I'm like looking it up right now as we're talking about it, and
I'm pretty sure they did. Because I kept thinking, well, it's 3 games. There's only 3 games left, or 4 games, depending on.
I mean, it doesn't shock me because how could you do something like that? And not get punished for it?
Yeah, no other team's going to want him if he's got that reputation for not wanting to go into a game or just refusing to coach, something the coaches ask him to do. So he's basically done in the NFL. I'd say.
Suspended. Yeah. So according to this ESPN article, suspended the final 3 games by the 49ers. Conduct detrimental to the team.
Sure.
So it's not a big surprise. Will he ever get picked up by another team? Is this an act that just totally?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't just cut him so they could maybe sign somebody else.
Right. So we'll have to see what happens with this guy's future. I know you hear a lot of the former players blasting this, and I've heard the other side of the argument though, which I'm kind of on. It's like we don't really know what the full story is.
Sure.
Was he going through something else? Is there some more to this story? Who knows? It could be as simple as he just gave up, or it could be as complex as he's got stuff going on at home. Who doesn't have stuff going on at home, and it bleeds into your work life? And who knows? So hard to judge a guy completely. We're not in that locker room, but it's not a good look.
No, it sure is.
And we'll see if more stuff comes out about that. Yeah. So that was a way to start the week. That was the last thing I expected when I woke up the next day, because I turned that game off and I was like, this is a boring game. I don't care who wins at this point. And even though I was pulling for the 49ers to beat the Rams, that didn't happen. So, all right, so we'll go on to the rest of the slate of the games, and there's some good ones. As I pull the app back up. So the Carolina Panthers were favored for their first time in 30-something games to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
I was rooting for them.
I was too, and the Dallas Cowboys beat the Panthers 30-14.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. Dallas keep their playoff hopes alive, at least for another week. We'll talk about that in a little bit, all the playoff stuff. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Cleveland Browns 21-7. The Browns wearing those 1940s uniforms, the all whites.
Yeah.
Not a bad look. I think that looks grown on me a bit. But the big story from this game, obviously, is Patrick Mahomes going down in the fourth quarter with an ankle injury. They say he's day-to-day. It sounds like he'll probably end up starting this week, but we'll see.
He won a Super Bowl and a couple of playoff games on a bad ankle last year, so I don't put too much.
That's why I don't know what deal he's got with the devil, but goodness gracious. Yeah. So the Houston Texans clinched the AFC South by defeating the Miami Dolphins 20-12. The New York Jets, despite getting a 32-25 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, eliminated from the playoffs. We'll have that full list here in a second. The Washington Commanders defeated the New Orleans Saints 20-19. Now, this was interesting because the Saints were coming back. They were going to go for 2 to try to win the game, didn't get it. Commanders getting by the skin of their teeth there. The Baltimore Ravens defeated the New York Giants 35-14. The Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans 37-27. The New England Patriots fell to the Arizona Cardinals 30-17. A lot of these games I don't really have notes from. Then there's this game. How about this one right here? This was fascinating. As the Denver Broncos beat the Indianapolis Colts 31-13. The big story from this game, running back Jonathan Taylor had the Colts were leading at one point, and Jonathan Taylor had a great touchdown run and dropped the ball at the right outside the goal line.
Yeah, I heard.
Why does this keep happening?
Yeah, he's done that a couple times this
I
year.
don't know if it was him. A few players have done it, but him specifically, I can't say he's done it before. But the fact that you do it at all, what are we doing? And I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's fantasy people who are upset because they don't get the 6 points and it affects their game. But that would have been a turning point in this game where both these teams played like crap. Bo Nix threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions. Anthony Richardson, no better. It was back and forth for most of this game, throwing interceptions, and then the Broncos finally pulled it out in the end to win this one somehow.
That's just bad coaching.
It's just the dropping the ball at one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that bad? I think it's just on the player. You know what you got to do. Get into the end zone. Stop showboating. That's on you. A coach can only do so much. I don't know. It does seem weird that it was from Jonathan Taylor, who I feel like is a little more got the screws tightened up than some of these other guys who celebrate a little too soon. But I mean, guaranteed he's never going to do that again. Yeah, that's about all you could say. Once it happens to a guy, I'm never doing that again.
You hope not.
You would hope not. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just totally shocked the Los Angeles Chargers 40-17. They put up a 40-burger on the Chargers, a very good Chargers team. And the Buccaneers, watch out. They have now taken control of that NFC South and look to be a scary team going into the postseason. They looked like they were dead in the water for a few weeks, but now here they are. I mean, in a crappy division where they can win out and maybe become a spoiler in the playoffs. So good for Baker. And Mike Evans, again, I think he's 200 and something yards away from 1,000 yards on the season, which would, make it 1,000 yards every season he's been in the league. There's a little question that he'd do that this year because of injury. But he's made up for the lost time. So good for him. He's definitely going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. All right, then your 2 big games. I don't know which one you want to start with. Steelers-Eagles or Lions-Bills?
Steelers-Eagles.
All right, Steelers-Eagles. The Eagles beat the Steelers 27-13. Saquon Barkley held under 100 yards, which is odd for a change. I think at one point he was in the medical tent. But the Eagles proven why they've been one of the better teams. They take care of the Steelers. I think they said this is like the 11th straight loss the Steelers have had in Philadelphia.
They haven't won in like 20 years or something like that. I forget. They said how long it's been. I can't remember what it was, but it's been like forever since they've won in Philadelphia.
That's an unbelievable stat right there. So the Eagles, with that win, they go to 12-2. So we have to go check in on our beloved Detroit Lions, who fell to the Buffalo Bills 48-42, a score that is closer than this game actually was. You and I haven't talked about this game. We barely even texted during this game. My girlfriend said that I gave her secondhand anxiety, and because I was stressed and intense. She felt it, and boy, it was a rough time. It didn't help that they were losing as bad as they were, and I don't like losing. It's been weird going 11 weeks without a loss.
We had to deal with a loss,
But I mean, look, kudos to Josh Allen, to the Buffalo Bills, their fan base. I mean, we have a bunch of Bills friends.
Yep.
And these are 2 teams. Like if it ain't the Lions that could maybe win the Super Bowl, we would probably say, I'd like to see Buffalo get it. Yeah, I might like to see. I don't know. After this game, though, it hurts a little bit more. But Josh Allen was unbelievable in this game. He could do no wrong.
We've always had a problem with running quarterbacks, and when he decides to run, I mean, he's not considered a running quarterback, but he will.
I mean,
and when he does,
he's starting to become.
He picks the right time to do it, and he's very successful at it when he does run.
And when he's outside the pocket, they mention it during the broadcast, as annoying as Tony Romo's been lately. he finally, I think it finally hit me during this game how annoying I find Tony Romo. I don't think I've had a problem with him in the past, but now I'm just like, you know what, Tony Romo, you annoy me. Every time they cut to his face, I'm just like, I just want to punch his face. I just don't know if I like Jim Nantz. I just don't know if I like Tony Romo anymore. But he, every time Josh Allen would roll out and would throw across his body, it's like it was guaranteed. It was like a guaranteed he's going to make that play, and it was unbelievable. And then the Lions, of course, we could complain about the injuries and, we had so many guys hurt, and that's why we lost. That's not why we lost. We lost because the offense couldn't get out. Those first 2 drives, I think, were the big factor.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything those first 2 drives.
Being down 14-0.
And then you get down 14-0 because you ran 5 plays and got 3 yards.
Yep.
You can't do that when you're this offense. And, I mean, after a while, the Lions started cooking. And once they got cooking, it was, fine. It was, trading blows back and forth.
Right, yeah.
You hope that defense could get a couple stops in there, and they did a couple of times, but still not a pretty win. They were down by 3 possessions at one point.
Yeah.
So the big question, I guess, a lot of fans have been debating is the onside kick with 12 minutes to go. How do you feel about that?
I had no problem with that call because I know what Dan Campbell was thinking. He's thinking if we give this ball back to them, they're going to go on a 5, 6, 7, 8 minute drive. We won't be able to stop them, and they're going to score, and we're going to be down that much more. So why not take a chance? Maybe we get the ball right back quick, and we can score ourselves, and have a lot of time left. Well, obviously that didn't work.
Right.
But we still made a close game of it, and his reasoning worked out in the end, Dan Campbell's, because when we did get the ball back with 12 seconds, if we had gotten that other onside kick, which we almost did, we would have had around 12 seconds or so, but we still had 2 timeouts. So people were saying, why isn't he taking a timeout here? He's letting the clock run, and that was why, because he knew that eventually we were going to hopefully get the ball back, and we would need some timeouts if we did. And that would have worked out fine. 12 seconds with 2 timeouts, you could have had.
Well, they had no timeouts at that point.
Well, no, I think we ended the game with 2 timeouts in our pocket.
I don't think they had any timeouts left in their pocket. So the problem was they had plenty of time. They were like 40, 50 seconds left in the game. They were using their timeouts, but Jared Goff, they just couldn't punch it in the end zone. There was a couple of drops that if they would have gotten it, I think they would have had maybe a timeout, and then they would have had 30-plus seconds to play with that onside kick if you get it.
Right.
So it was there, but anytime you got to go for an onside kick that late in the game, the numbers aren't there. It's a 6.8% chance of converting that. And with these overtime rules, and I'm not saying this right now or asking this question because it didn't work in our favor, and that's why we lost. No, I'm asking this just out of a general, because if it's a 6.8% conversion rate on an onside kick now, because you have to declare it, so it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Should the NFL, if they keep with this kickoff rule, we don't know if they're going to keep this kickoff rule.
I hope not. I don't like the
going
right
forward. The XFL style rule.
Right.
If they keep it, should they adopt the 4th and 15 play?
Either that, or within the last 5 minutes, any kickoffs are regular kickoffs. No more of this. Let's kick it in the end zone. Nobody moves till the ball is touched. Let them do regular kickoffs. That way you don't know if an onside kick is coming, because everybody knows it's going to be a kickoff, but will they do an onside attempt? They don't know. So you're at least keeping that secret up until you kick that ball.
Yeah. I don't know. If they keep the rule, I say you have to implement the 4th and 15. You have to. Otherwise, this fourth down, it doesn't make for a way for a team to get back in the game.
Right, yeah.
Yep. I however, think, like, as much as I'm sure the data will support this new kickoff rule and that injuries are down drastically. Well, yeah, because half the time they're kicking it out of the end zone anyway, which is the problem we were having prior to changing this rule. I think they just need to go back to the old style and then reopen up the onside kick stuff so it's a surprise, and that's that. And because if you don't want a guy getting hurt, kick it out of the end zone. Like, I don't know, maybe there needs to be some other stipulations, but I think they got to rework the kickoff again.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That's another problem for another day. But look, again, kudos to the Bills. Clearly the better team. It was definitely a shock to the system and a reality check, I think, for Lions fans and the team. And Dan Campbell, I don't know if you listened to his
I did
spot on 97 won the ticket today.
I did.
Unbelievable. Just this guy just continuing to rah-rah and just believe in this team despite all this stuff. And I was a little down and dejected. I mean, after hearing that we lost Lee McNeil during the game.
Yeah,
we
4 players.
We lost Robertson, I believe. Right? Carl, was it?
Davis.
Carlton Davis. We lost him to a jaw injury.
Yep.
And then we lost a backup, another backup corner to the leg injury that looked like Hutch's injury.
Yeah. The 4 people that we lost during this game.
And then Montgomery, which we didn't know about. When that came out, I was shocked because he came back in the game, and I thought he was fine. But, yeah, he's out for the rest of the year, which is a blow. But, Dan Campbell it's guy's time to shine. So that means Craig Reynolds, backup running back. It's time for you to step up. Sione Vaki, time to step up. So it's time for guys to you're an NFL player for a reason. And if you want, to get your name out there, you got to perform.
Yep.
So it's destiny's in the Lions' hand. They got to win the next 3 games to get that 1 seed. It's going to be a gauntlet to end the year, and what a crazy thing. And we'll get to the standings and all that in a second.
Yeah, this game went kind of how I expected. I mean, 40. What was it? 48.
48 to 42, which was a scoregami, by the way.
Scoregami. Yeah, lots of
1,090th scoregami.
Lots of yards. I mean, Goff's stats were actually better than Josh Allen's.
Yeah, but how much of that was garbage time? How soft were the Bills playing? I mean, the Bills don't have a great defense either, but
almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
They said he's the first quarterback to throw for almost 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and not win the game, which is crazy. I just think that's just the balancing of nature, because he had 5 interceptions and won a game, so now he gets 5 touchdowns and loses a game.
Yep.
So, like Thanos, everything is balanced and blah blah blah. But it was absolutely crazy. Is Josh Allen the MVP?
I don't know, and I don't care.
The answer is yes, and the fact that you said you don't know invalidates your football
I
opinion.
don't put much into.
Look, the MVP is a stupid
MVP.
award. It goes to the best quarterback.
It's a beauty
on the best
pageant,
team,
and it's who the media wants. It's the media darling. Oh, this is a great story, so let's give him MVP.
To me, I'm championing for Jared Goff to win Man of the Year. That's the only award I really care about. The Walter Payton Man of the Year, to me, is the award I care about the most. Give that to Jared Goff. MVP, don't care. I actually think Saquon Barkley should get it. But after Josh Allen the last 2 weeks, Josh Allen's the MVP. So we'll see what happens with all that. All right. We had a couple more games left. Let's get through that, if my phone would cooperate. The Sunday night game saw the Packers beat the Seahawks 30-13. With the Packers win and the Seahawks lost, that gave the Minnesota Vikings a playoff spot. The Steelers also clinched despite losing in their game, by the way. Just throw that note out there. Yep. And then on Monday Night Football, we had 2 games. One I watched for a hot second, and then I realized this game was hot garbage, and I turned it off. And a second game that I was just like, this game seems like it's going to be hot garbage, I'm not going to watch. And it turns out this game was hot garbage, and I'm glad I didn't watch. So the Bears fell to the Vikings 30-12. The Vikings broke out their Winter Warrior uniforms, whatever you want to call it.
I hate those uniforms.
Look, I like the jerseys and stuff. I like the silver accent. It's cool, but the helmet is my big problem.
Yeah.
I'm watching, I'm like, I can't even tell you got a logo on your helmet because you went with the white horn still. So I'm sorry, Minnesota, but that ain't it.
Nope.
Then the Falcons beat the Raiders 15-9.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. Yep. Don't. Yeah.
Why was a game? Why are we having 2 Monday night games at this point in the season?
Because they can.
You put them on at the same time, people can only watch one or the other. So
that's why you get the split screen, Randy. Don't you have split screen?
I didn't care about one of these 2 games. I only cared about the Vikings game. I was rooting for them to lose.
And the Bears.
But I knew the Bears couldn't do it. And
God, the Bears. Man, I watched long enough to see Caleb Williams get absolutely drilled and fumble the ball. Boy, oh boy. I was hoping the Bears would bring their A game. They better not bring it next week either. I'm going to tell you that right now, Chicago. Keep playing like this, please. So that's your NFL. Those are the games. So some other stories real quick. So, yeah, the 9 eliminated teams from the playoffs sit as follows. In the AFC, the Jets, Browns, Jags, Titans, Patriots, and Raiders. And then the NFC, the Bears got eliminated, Panthers, and Giants. So 3 of 16 teams. So that means there's 13 teams in the NFC still looking for playoff spots. And in the AFC, so if you've eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means there's 10 teams vying for those 7 spots. So it's getting tight up there in the AFC.
Yeah.
And your news stories here real quick. The NFL will play regular season game at Olympic Stadium in Berlin, Germany for the first time in 2025. They played a preseason game there back in 1994. It was the home of the NFL Europe's Berlin Thunder, and they have already played games in Frankfurt and Munich. They'll also be playing a game in Madrid, Spain for the first time in 2025. That's where Real Madrid, the football team, plays. You put soccer, but we got to say football because that's what they call it over there.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, playing in some new locales?
Whatever. I figured that the Lions will be going to Germany for that game because of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
See, we thought that last year and it didn't happen. I'm skeptical about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
So we'll see what happens. And, one thing we didn't mention, here's a news story. The Lions jacking up season ticket prices again. How do you feel about that?
I didn't see that.
I know we're not season ticket holders.
They jacked them up after last year, and now they're jacking them up again.
Yeah, my friend's a season ticket holder. She was not very happy.
Well, you know how much we paid for playoff tickets last year, or back in January? That's going to be the regular price of a ticket pretty soon.
God, I hope not. I feel for these fans. Like, it stinks that the Lions are finally getting good, and then they jack up all these prices. And supposedly they say it's to get to the league average ticket price, which I don't know. I haven't seen the data to support that. It still seems like an exorbitant amount of money for season tickets. Like they said, their tickets went from being $100-something per seat to now $200-something per seat.
So they basically doubled.
Almost basically doubled for her in an upper deck. And we sat in that section, remember?
Yeah.
For the playoff game. So they're that many rows up behind us
There's
paying
really
that much.
There's really not a bad seat in the house.
There's
I mean,
not, but
upper
it's
deck
still, you're
is
an upper
fine.
deck seat and you're paying that much.
I know.
It's absolutely crazy. It makes me nervous. Like, when's the next time we're going to afford to go to a Lions game? We're going to pay cheaper tickets probably to go on the road somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And a semi-related NFL story, more of a college story, but because it contains or pertains to the greatest head coach of all time in the NFL, probably, or one of, we're going to talk about it. Bill Belichick has signed a 5-year, $50 million deal to become the head coach at North Carolina University, or the University of Northern Carolina, however you want to say that. UNC. $10 million per year. The first 3 years are guaranteed. He inquired about the Jets' open job before signing with UNC. Is this the start of a trend, Randy?
I kind of think it is, because I've been listening to some of the sports talk people, and the way college football is going now, it's like a minor league. You know, players are getting paid. You know, there's all this money in there, and so what North Carolina is doing, and I think this is going to be a model for everybody else, is they're setting up a program that mirrors an NFL program. You're going to have an NFL coach with a bunch of NFL assistants, you know, and so they're going to get an idea at these big schools that this is the way it's going to be in the NFL. So it's not as big of a culture shock when these, 22-year-old kids go into the NFL. They've got a pretty good idea of what it's like, to practice, to what the game day experience is, and the way things go in the game, because you've been taught by NFL coaches now. So I think whether Belichick stays there for a long time or just a couple of years and then tries to get back to the NFL, I don't know. But I think this is kind of a model for the way some of these big schools are going to develop their programs now. They're gonna be more NFL style environments for all the players.
I could see that, and the allure of Bill Belichick specifically.
Yes.
Is the draw. He's like a Deion Sanders where he doesn't have to go out on the recruiting trail. That was the big question. It's like, could you see Bill Belichick hitting the road and going to all these kids' houses? He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He's going to be the name that kids are going to be like, I could go, like, as much as a hard ass as Bill Belichick is, there's going to be families or people like, no, this is the guy you want to go to.
Yep.
If you want to get to the NFL,
you
get through him. Like, he's like Nick Saban. You want to go play for a Nick Saban, you want to go play for, a Jim Harbaugh. Those are the guys, or you want to play at Ohio State, those pipelines that are going to get you to the NFL. Bill Belichick is going to be that guy, and we'll see how he actually does on the field. But he will, I will guarantee he will develop good players. Whether or not they're going to win a college championship or the conference championship, even hard to say. Are they even going to be 500? No idea. Yeah. But I'll guarantee you he will develop good players across the board, mainly probably on defense. I heard Matt Patricia's already going to be a part of that staff. Whoop-de-doo.
Yay.
Good luck, all you guys there. But we'll see. This will be the thing to keep your eye on. And I wonder if, because the rumor is that he's only going to be there for a year, opt out, give it to it, because he's got a stipulation that would hand the team off to his son.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
If that's true, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I heard that he's got a stipulation in his big long thing that he orchestrated with the university that if he leaves, his son's the next in line. Like, they can't just hire a coach. It goes to his son, he's mentoring, I guess, also at the same time. I don't know. But he's going to opt. I think he'll opt out. A job opens up next year in the NFL. Oh, the university will be like, they'll give it to him because he's Bill Belichick. So we'll see.
Well, nobody wanted him this year, so what's going to make somebody want him next year?
Hard to say. I think right now, it's so early with the NFL season. With college, like, there is no guarantee he could get the NFL job right now. Because we're still a few weeks in the season. But with college, you're in that weird area where it's like you got to hire your coaches now to get ready for next year because of transfer portal with National Signing Day and all that. Because remember when Michigan State, I remember when they signed one of their coaches, they were so late in the process. It was like February, way too late in the process to be hiring a decent enough coach or to even be get a good job. So I don't know. I think this will be an interesting experiment. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but we'll have to circle back to that.
Well, if you remember last week, we mentioned that he had interviewed with North Carolina, and I flat out said there's no way he's going to sign with North Carolina. I guess I was wrong because I didn't think that he was going to actually sign with the school in a million years. So I'm glad I didn't put money on that because it just seemed so far fetched. But man, was I wrong about that.
I mean, him and Dion, those are two, entities that people are going to probably gravitate to. We'll see. I mean, Dion probably more so than Belichick because I could see the appeal to Dion as opposed to Belichick. But with Belichick, if you want to be a good, sound football player, that's probably the mentor you want. And then a story that's not on the rundown. How about Michael Vick, former NFL quarterback, reportedly talking with Sacramento State about their head coaching job?
I did see that late today that he was interviewing or they were considering hiring him. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's interesting if it follows. I just feel it's interesting that they're reporting on that and it's not even a done deal. But it's something we'll have to keep an eye out on. So I would say that is it for the NFL. And we're going to throw it over to Randy, who's going to talk about some college football.
Yeah, the big game last week, actually, the only game in town at the FBS level was the Army-Navy game, and I really, really enjoy watching that game every year.
Did you actually watch it?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I watched a good share of it.
I watched the beginning. One thing I didn't realize, because I was watching a bit of the pregame, and they had the cadets walk out, and I didn't realize that they exchanged students, and then, right there at midfield, a handful of students, because one Navy and one Army person walked out with 5 or 6 cadets from the other school behind them, and then they swapped them. All right, go back to your school. And it was crazy. I never knew if that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't see the very first part of the game. I got there a little bit late, so I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was during the pregame, and I was like, that's fascinating. I didn't know if that was a tradition. Didn't know that was a thing. I mean, and I've watched plenty of Army-Navy games, but man, did Navy come out and just kick Army in the teeth.
Yeah, they had some cool uniforms, which they always do. They make a big deal out of their uniforms.
I dug the Navy uniforms more than the Army. Army was just it did. My girlfriend asked me a couple points is there snow on Army's uniforms because of the white kind of speckle they had on the helmet and the shoulder? I'm like, no, that's just the design. Yep. But I like the Navy's uniforms a lot. That Jolly Roger
Jolly
logo?
Roger, yep.
That's pretty sweet.
Yep. So Navy improved to 9-3 on the season by upsetting number 22 ranked Army. 31-13. Army drops to 11-2 on the season, but they still got
AAC champs.
Yeah, they've got that, and they're going to go to a bowl game, which we'll talk a little bit about later. This was the 125th meeting between these two schools. I think it's the third longest in college football history. I think it's 5 games more than Michigan, Ohio State. But anyway, Navy now leads that series 63 wins to 55 losses with 7 ties all time between these two schools. I really, really enjoy it. That's one of my bucket list items is to go to an Army-Navy game sometime.
I've heard it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
If we could get tickets to something like that, I'd go.
Yeah.
It looks cool. I mean, President-elect was in the attendance there.
Yeah, I never saw him.
They cut to him before the game.
On TV. Okay,
I don't know if he was shown during the game.
I heard he was there, but I didn't actually see him anywhere.
But still, just all the other popping circumstance around that game, I just feel like it would be incredible. The flyover would probably be incredible. All the cadets in the stands. And my girlfriend asked me, because during the national anthem, a bunch of them were not wearing their hats, and she was saying aren't they supposed to have their hats on at all times outside, but they're taking them off little confusion there.
Yeah, well, this is one of the few times when the cadets can actually be fans, and it's like when I was in basic training, the only time you felt free was when you went to church on Sunday. They wouldn't mess with you if you're sitting in a pew. That's why I went every Sunday to church, because they left you alone. That was your time. But no, it's really cool. I really enjoyed the Army-Navy game. All right, there were a couple of bowl games that got played. On Saturday, it was the HBCU Celebration Bowl. Jackson State over South Carolina State, 28-7. And our beloved Western Michigan Broncos did it again. In the Salute to Veterans Bowl, they lost to South Alabama, 30-23.
Goodness gracious.
I watched almost all of this game, and it was... they kind of were hanging with them for a while, but they just kind of lost it.
Western jumped out to the lead at first, and we were like, all right, here goes Western. But then hats off to South Alabama.
Yeah, their starting quarterback was out, so the backup played the whole game and led them to a bowl game.
Looked great.
Bowl victory.
They were lighting it up. I think they had a couple of big electric plays, and I was like, what are you doing, Western?
Yeah.
It was just hard to watch. And
both these teams were 6-6, so this is kind of a throwaway bowl for the whole bowl season and whatever. At least Western got a chance to get some extra practice time. They got on national TV and once again came up short on the short end. But there's another bowl game tonight. Tonight is the Frisco Bowl between Memphis and West Virginia. So I don't know if I'll catch any of that, but we will have that score next week when we do the rest of the scores. Yep. But then right after the Army-Navy game, as usual, it was the Heisman Trophy presentation.
Yeah, I missed this. I was out. We were doing Christmas lights. We went to Michigan International Speedway.
Oh, I did that last year. We took the dogs there last year.
We did that.
They really liked it.
It wasn't too bad. And what stinks is that they were offering helicopter rides for like $35. Yeah, right across there.
I've never been in a helicopter.
I was like, we should have just. Oh, next year though. I mean, so if you want a helicopter ride, they're doing $35 helicopter rides right there next to the Michigan.
That's another bucket list item. I have never flown in a helicopter.
Well,
I've flown on military cargo planes. I've been in 747s and small planes, but never a helicopter. And I would love to go on a helicopter.
Well, there you go. You got your opportunity. I don't know how often they do it, but we went Saturday night. We like the one down in, was it Sheboygan we went down to? The one in Indiana? I forget where it was. Shipshawana? I forget what it was.
Shipshawana?
One of those, yeah. Whatever they had a Christmas. I thought that one was a little better than the Michigan International Speedway. But yeah, so that's why I missed the Heisman Trophy presentation. So I got the alert on my phone about that.
Well, I knew you only have to watch the last 10, 15 minutes of that
whole
thing.
It's all, man, it's like the biggest waste of time. Like, just get to the award. You know it's one of two guys.
They make these four poor guys sit there for an hour and over an hour.
When two of them are legit contenders and two of them are just like, well, we just needed a couple more butts to fill seats.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a defensive back and wide receiver, Travis Hunter, who was a junior this year, winning the 2024 Heisman Trophy. He started out at HBCU Jackson State with Coach Prime, and I think Coach Prime is the one that told him, "You come with me, and we'll make something out of you." And he did, and along with Shador, and they went to Colorado, and now he's got a Heisman Trophy to show for it. He received 552 of 901 first-place votes. But they said this was like one of the closest votings between him and Ashton Genty.
I could see where this was could be hotly contested. I know a lot of people were upset that it didn't go to Boise State running back Ashton Genty because, people are like, the whole joke that the Oregon Duck had on Pat McAfee is that snaps aren't a stat. Like, okay, so Travis Hunter played 1,000 snaps. Whoop-de-doo. Like, but he was like, and the people are bringing up, he's like 4th in this stat on defense and 5th in that stat. And I get it. Like, if you just held him up as one position, but he was doing both.
Yeah.
So I think you could take that a little bit into account. And in today's college football, it's a lot harder to do.
Yes.
And the fact that he did it even remotely decent on both sides of the ball is an incredible feat. Because people always mistake the best player for the most deserving. Like, Heisman Trophy to me it's a guy that just kind of does more.
Yeah, shines above everybody else.
And a dude that did stuff on both sides of the ball.
Right.
To me, that
you don't see that anymore.
You don't, and to me, that's a Heisman. But don't get me wrong. I think Genty could have gotten it, should have maybe gotten it. But I get it. Like, he's also out trying to break Barry Sanders' record, and I saw a great graphic of showing Barry and his running yards kind of together throughout the games, and you just see how Barry did it so much quicker.
They have the exact same number of carries, like 343 carries, and he's like 200 or 131 yards behind Barry right now.
But he's also played a few extra games.
Right, and he's got one more game to go. If they win that one, they might have another game, so he might have 2 games to do.
So he could really pad that. That's why I hate those kind of records. Like, it's just like even the NFL, they added an extra game and Saquon could break Dickerson's record. It's like, he had an extra game. Come on. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, on our website, I do have a spreadsheet that follows the 2,000-yard rushers in college and in NFL. And I make a point to say how many games did they play in order to get where they were. Yeah. So that'll be on there.
That kind of context has to be added nowadays, especially with the expansion of college football play, which don't get me wrong, I think is great for college. But doing that as stats is weird. Let's be like at the NFL, we're allowing playoff stats to be rolled into your regular season stats. Like, to me, that's just, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah. But look, back to Travis Hunter. Look, I think he deserved it. He definitely, when he made a difference on both sides of the ball, I mean, how can you argue that? But I do feel people could make the argument that him by not being like super great at one or the other, he was just good at both.
So he's going to get drafted, but are they going to draft him as an offensive player or as a defensive player? Because he's not going to do both in the NFL.
He'll be drafted by Deion Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys as a weapon. That's what his mark.
Another slash.
Yeah,
like the Steelers quarterback
Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart. Yeah. Slash.
I don't know. It'll be fascinating to see what they actually do because you can't play like that in the NFL.
Right.
College. I mean, maybe you could in the NFL. I mean, look at what Deion did for years. But I mean, who knows?
It's different these days.
It depends on where he falls and who takes him, and that'll be something to watch out for. But Genty, though, don't get me wrong. I think he's a guy to watch out for too in the NFL draft.
But this past season, Hunter had 92 catches for 1,152 yards, 14 touchdowns, and he also rushed for another touchdown on offense. On defense, he had 4 interceptions, 11 pass defenses, and made 30 tackles. His stats could have been better, but he missed significant parts of 2 games with a shoulder injury. So all that, with 2 less games. But you think back, O.J. Simpson got 2,000 yards in 14 game season, where everybody else was at least 16 games.
But you know how incredibly hard it is. Okay, like to go out on offense and you catch 14 touchdowns, like that's one thing. But then to turn around and be like, okay, I got to go out and play defense. That's slightly different footwork. That's slightly different watching, vision, and it's reacting. Like on offense, you know what's going to happen, so you're not reacting to anything. On defense, you have to react, and I think for him to have that instinct, and he reacted and got 4 interceptions. I think that just shows the overall athlete, and I think that's why he deserves it. I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm sure there are arguments, and there are arguments for the other guys to have gotten this award. But to me, I am not upset one bit that he won this award. Congratulations to you, Travis Hunter.
Absolutely. Yeah, the other 3 finalists were, as you said, Boise State running back Ashton Genty, Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and Miami quarterback Cam Ward. So.
I mean, I look forward to the day where there's not a single quarterback on this list, and it's just a bunch of great, like, give me a good running back, give me a wide receiver, give me a linebacker, or give me some other offensive tackle. Somebody like a Penei Sewell in college where they didn't allow a single sack in their 4 years of college.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It won't, because it's still a pretty award, but I think it's a step in the right direction to give it to a guy like a Travis Hunter.
They did say that he was the first non-quarterback since 2000.
I believe
this
that
century. I think
I could pull up your list on your website.
Yeah,
it's been a minute. I didn't even think about that it's been a while.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard that, but I did hear that one of the talk shows, either on the radio or on TV, they were mentioning that they said this century, so I assume that means since 2000.
Yeah, like just scrolling back through. I mean, 2020. Devontae Smith won as a wide receiver. So, I mean, maybe in any capacity of a defensive player winning it.
Well, for that, you got to go back to...
you probably got to go all the way back to Charles Woodson?
Charles Woodson, yes, from Michigan.
What year would that have been? That would have been...
that was early 90s, maybe, late 80s.
I'm looking at your spreadsheet. 97.
97.
So, yeah, it's a long time, but... yeah, quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, running back, quarterback, running back, quarterback. This is going back to the running back, Reggie Bush in 2005. Yeah. Quarterback. Yeah, it's littered with quarterbacks. Finally, they have, and you have to update your thing, by the way, a wide receiver, defensive back win it. A great two-way player playing. That looks like the first two-way guy that'll have won the award.
I think so. Well, of course, you might have to go back to the 1930s when that was common.
Yeah.
But I think even back in those days, they only recognized him for one.
1936, Larry Kelly won it from Yale.
From Yale, yeah. Yale won 2 in a row back then.
Yeah,
But let's go on to some other news. In college, Marshall has opted out of the Independence Bowl against Army on December 28th. They've had over 25 players enter the transfer portal since their head coach, Charles Huff, left the program to take the vacant head coaching job at Southern Miss. Marshall is going to be replaced by Louisiana Tech, who has a record of 5-7.
Yeah, I saw the list of
Army
teams.
Army that's 11-2.
the list of teams they had that could have replaced Marshall was insane because there was Wisconsin had a bowl streak going, and Wisconsin didn't make a bowl this year, and somebody was like, "Oh, they could keep their streak alive if they invite Wisconsin," and I don't know if they just couldn't, if they weren't even thought of.
Well, you would think if there were any other 6-6 schools out there that they would have grabbed one of those, but they're going with a 5-7 Louisiana Tech team.
I don't even know if
and a lot of the other ones, since they knew they weren't going to go into a bowl, a lot of their players are already gone. Their equipment's all turned in.
Right,
so
yeah, that's the other
they
side of
couldn't
it too.
they couldn't physically field a team because of that. So, but for whatever reason, it's going to be Louisiana Tech at 5-7 against Army at 11-2. I wonder who's going to win that game.
Yeah, we'll see.
And here's a story that you've been chomping at the bit to talk about. Ohio Republican State Representative Josh Williams is introducing a bill to make flag planting in sports a felony in the state of Ohio. Williams is calling this bill the Ohio Sportsmanship Act.
Weak.
What do you think about this? You've got some.
Luckily, most of the internet
opinions.
also did not. There's even a bunch of Ohio State people who were like, "None of this is dumb."
Yeah.
If this were to pass, Ohio the state is already one of the worst states in the union. This would just make them even worse than worse. It's absolutely silly. It's just a butthurt Buckeyes fan who had nothing better to do and decided, like, I'm going to make some headlines by introducing this bill.
Yeah, people will love me for this.
People will love me.
I'll get reelected.
I hope Tennessee comes in there and plants a flag on your guys' stadium so hard before this bill could even pass. I hope they take your goalposts, too, and take them and throw them in the river. But I don't know, it's so dumb. I saw this. I had to roll my eyes like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, it comes back down to when this first happened, and I said, look, if you don't want this to happen in your stadium, then stop it.
Right.
Look, yes, the scene after the fact was dumb and terrible and shouldn't have gotten to that.
And the fact that there were 2 or 3 other games, I think 4 altogether that weekend where this sort of thing happened, and there were fights and melees after the game.
It's just, look, I think you just got to look. This is college sports. If a team's going to plant the flag on you, then guess what? You deserve it. Win the game. Prevent that from happening. I guess it'd be different if you won the game and then the other team still tried to plant their flag like that. That's the difference. But no, look, it's college sports. It's all about rivalries, and if you say it's sportsmanship, then how about when Ohio State did that at Michigan and planted their flag? Sportsmanship, act my butt.
Yeah.
So this is dumb. It's a headline grabber.
Yep.
And
we'll see if
this ain't happening.
It
won't really happen. And if it does, Ohio, be prepared for the backlash. Nobody's gonna want to go play. Nobody's going to want to go play there.
Yeah.
Ohio State. What a weak state.
Baker Mayfield came out with a statement today. Somebody asked him about that, and he was like, hey, we did that to people. They did it to us in college. Get over it. Yeah. It happens. Move on.
Yeah, it's just what shouldn't happen is the brawl afterwards.
Right.
Like there's a line. Okay, you went and you planted your flag, and if you don't like it, other team, like I said, you just got to sit there and take it.
Yeah.
You just have to.
I was watching the end of that game because I was shocked that Michigan actually won. But those two teams were hanging around out on the field way too long, especially if you lost. Why are you still out there for 20 minutes? You're just inviting trouble.
Yeah.
Every one of those coaches should have said, all right, we lost. Everybody hit the locker room.
Shake your hands, meet up, do the sportsmanship, go out,
get
shake
in,
a
get
few
out,
players'
let's get
hands,
out of here.
get to the locker room.
But no, they all got to hang around. It's almost like they were waiting for something like that to happen.
It's like they wanted something.
Yeah,
to
they thought that might happen, so they were there to start a fight.
Yeah, I think teams maybe they just have to have a rule across the board. Like, look, if you lose your game, you get 10 minutes on the field, then you have to get to the locker room.
Well, I figured if anybody was going to rule against this, and I did think there was going to be a rule, I figured the NCAA would step in. Just like the way they fine...
The NCAA is so weak.
The way they fine schools for their fans running out onto the field or things like that, I figured that would be it. If you try to plant the flag and it ends up in a fist fight, your school is going to get fined $100,000 or make it a flat $500,000 for doing that. Just make it impossible for them to do it financially. Hit them where it counts in the pocketbook, but
not when they're making billions of dollars.
It's up to the NCAA to say something about that, not some congressman from Ohio that's trying to get reelected.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Okay.
All right, so let's go on to college FBS playoff pairings. We had no playoff games this week. Those start this weekend. In fact, they start on Friday night with number 7 Notre Dame taking on number 10 Indiana. I'll be watching that game because we know a guy on the sidelines for Indiana.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on the show, especially with Christmas break coming up. We might have to try to get him on. I mean, we'll see if they win, lose, but it'll be great to kind of reflect on Indiana's season.
Yeah.
Shoot, if they win on Friday,
we may not see him on
we may
Christmas
not see him for a
he'd
while.
be too busy planning for the next game and trying to get all the uniforms washed and the cleats cleaned up for the next game.
I did see that they got like a special patch that everybody's going to wear for this first round of the playoffs, so that'll be interesting. And I think the fact that they're all at the home teams' stadiums is going to add an element of awe to this spectacle.
Yep. Let's see. And then on Saturday, there are 3 playoff games. It's going to be number 5 Texas versus number 12 Clemson, number 6 Penn State versus number 11 SMU, and number 8 Ohio State versus number 9 Tennessee. And that means that Oregon, number 1 Oregon, number 2 Georgia, number 3 Boise State, and number 4 Arizona all get a bye.
All right. I just want to, after the fact, like you did last week, you keep putting their seeding numbers. That's not how they're actually ranked overall. So I just want to throw that out there. Arizona is not the number 4 team in the country.
I took these numbers right off the NCAA website.
That's their seeding. So like Arizona's probably what number? I forget it
at the
time. Like they're number 10, but they're ranked number 4 because of conference.
So that's why they get the bye.
That is why they get the bye.
Important number.
But that doesn't mean that they are the number 4. I just clarifying.
I didn't say they were number 4 in the country. I just said they are ranked number 4.
But when you say number 4 Arizona State, like
because that's the way the NCAA has it on their what do you call it? On their website, on the bracket. Yes, bracket's the word I was trying to find. All right, let's move on. FCS, this was their quarterfinal weekend this past weekend. It was number 1. Don't get on my case about this here. Number 1, Montana State over number 8, Idaho, 52-19.
Now, is that their seeding or is that
Shut
their
up.
rank?
Number 2, North Dakota State over number 7, Mercer, 31-7.
Again, is that their seeding or is that their rank?
You're not shutting up. Number 3, South Dakota State over number 6, Incarnate Word, 55-14.
Did you watch this game?
And number 4, South Dakota over number 5, UC Davis, 35-21. I did watch a little bit of some of these games.
Because I saw the Incarnate Word was on. I was like, oh, I wonder if Dad's watching this.
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of that. But, yeah, they definitely did not have it. Incarnate Word, that's where that kid is from that did the headstand that started the trend. It lasted 1 weekend. Nobody's done it since, so... but yeah, that was their big claim to fame this year. All right, so next week it'll be the semifinal round at the FCS level. Number 1 Montana State is going to be taking on number 4 South Dakota, and number 2 North Dakota State versus number 3 South Dakota State. Moving on to Division II, their semifinal round. It was Ferris State over Slippery Rock, 48-38, and Valdosta State over Minnesota State, 35-21. And that sets up the Division II National Championship game on Saturday the 21st. Ferris State versus Valdosta State, and that game is going to take place in McKinney, Texas. Moving on to Division III. This was the quarterfinals for them. Johns Hopkins over Mary Hardin Baylor, 17-10. Mount Union, always there at the end of the playoffs for Division III. Mount Union over Salisbury, 38-17. I'm hungry now for Salisbury steak. North Central of Illinois over Springfield, 27-3. Susquehanna over Bethel of Minnesota, 24-21. So next week in the semifinals, it's going to be Susquehanna versus North Central of Illinois and Johns Hopkins versus Mount Union. Those winners of those 2 games are going to meet on January 5th in the Amos Alonzo Stagg Bowl, the Division III championship game. All right, NAIA playoffs, the semifinals there. It was Kaiser of Florida over Benedictine of Kansas, 42-38. Grandview over Morningside of Iowa, 36-13. And that sets up the NAIA National Championship game on December 21st. It's coming Saturday. Kaiser of Florida versus Grandview, and that game is going to take place in Durham, North Carolina. And then finally, we have the National Junior College Athletic Association Championship game. This is tomorrow night on a Wednesday, December 18th. The Division I National Championship game, Iowa Western versus Hutchinson. And that'll be it for Division III. And that's it for all of the scores this week in college football. And now it is time that we check in with our good friend Greg at Gridiron Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
This is Greg St. James. with Gridiron Japan, and here are your scores for the games that were played this weekend, December 14th and 15th here in Japan, in both the X League and college football. For the X League, we had, it was the semifinals. We had the Fujitsu Frontiers winning 52-21 over the Challengers. And in our other game, we had the Panasonic Impulse winners 24-5 over the Obic Seagulls. So now we have going into the Rice Bowl, which is Japan's Pro Championship, their Super Bowl. For the fourth year in a row, we have the Fujitsu Frontiers squaring off against the Panasonic Impulse. And the Fujitsu Frontiers, the last three meetings in the Rice Bowl, have won all three games. In fact, since we started the Gridiron Japan podcast, the Fujitsu Frontiers have never lost a game. So they are heavy favorites, at least with our show, to win this game for a fourth time in a row over the Panasonic Impulse. And then also this weekend, we had the National College Football Championship, the Koshin Bowl, that was played at Koshin Stadium, a historic baseball stadium here in Japan, basically a combination of Wrigley Field and Fenway Park. So for this game, we had the Ritsumeikan Panthers winners 45-35 over the Jose Orange. In this game, we expected the KG Fighters to be here, who are basically the Alabama of college football here in Japan, but they got beat in the playoffs. So it was nice to see a couple new teams in the mix for the championship. All right, guys, with all that said, this is my final report of the year, because between now and January 3rd, there will be football played here in Japan, but that will be at the high school level, and with the Christmas Bowl, the National High School Championship being played. However, I don't know if I'm going to be watching that game live, as I will be in America. I will be on a plane to America at the time that game is being played, so I'll be back home for the holidays. So with all that said, guys, listen, I will be back with you to wrap up the Rice Bowl. January 3rd is when the Rice Bowl is. I'll have scores after that game. So just one game left in pro football here in Japan. We've got one game left for the high school championship here in Japan. And that's pretty much it in terms of football here on this side of the world. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, we'll talk to you later. Go Lions. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks again, as always, Greg. X-League and college scores this week. I like it. Wish we could get some more college coverage maybe next year from Greg over there. Safe travels on your holiday trip, Greg. Hope everything goes smoothly for you. He will be back one last time this season for our January 7th show. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and you were telling me, you messaged me saying he's got another podcast he's got cooking, a comic book podcast.
Yep. He wants to interview you about comics, comic books. So yeah.
Wow. Okay, Greg, I am flattered. Yeah, hit me up. You know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything but email. You do not. You're like an old person. You don't check your email very often.
I hate checking email. It's like checking the mail in the mailbox. I hate doing that too.
God. Oh man. All right, now we're going to return back to North America for more happenings in the world of football. And we did get some news out of the Arena Football 1 League this week. AF1 announced an agreement with Vice TV to be their national broadcast partner in 2015. They're coming out with a show Sunday nights in the Arena, which is going to be a primetime AF1 showcase game, and that's going to debut on March 16th. So I'm glad that they've got a national partner for a weekly, Sunday night game. Some places I saw that said that Vice was also going to be streaming, but I don't know if they're their streaming partner, because I get that channel on my satellite dish. So I'm hoping I can just tune to that channel. And
you old fogey, streaming on a satellite dish like a caveman.
It comes from outer space, dang it, to my house. From outer space to my house. Come on.
I mean, who could argue that point, everybody?
Isn't that incredible? And as long as it's not a blizzard, that signal is pretty darn good. But yeah, so they said that there's more broadcast.
I was going to say there's going to be more stuff to come.
Yes,
we'll
so they'll probably have a set streaming partner just to do streaming, because you don't want to watch. You want to watch all the games. You want to follow your favorite team every week. So
it'd be good exposure for all the markets. So
sure.
I'm curious to see how this all goes. Vice, when I heard Vice, I didn't love it at first. But I was like, you know what? For what the AF1 is, it's probably a good start.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember this, but when Fox got the NFL package many years ago, they didn't even have a sports department, so they had to create Fox Sports because now they were going to start doing.
And now look at them.
Well, yeah, and that's the same way with Vice. They had to create their own sports department to handle some of because they're doing several sports things, and this is just the latest acquisition. So they have created Vice Sports for that. And another thing that came out this week is the AF1 management team was announced. Basically, the same people that we've known for a while. Jerry Kurz returns as the CEO. Jeff Fisher is going to return as the commissioner. Christy McEwen is going to be the president of league and team operations. Sparky McEwen's wife. And Gary Compton remains the director of football operations. And then Jared Widman is going to be the president of business operations and the CSO, which I believe is the chief strategy officer. But yeah, I think when he was first named last year, we mentioned that. So he's been around for a while. He's been with the league for a while. I've never spoken to him, but yeah, the other four I've spoken to before.
Well, there you go. Add him to the list. Interview him, Randy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to talk to Gary Compton to make up for my botched interview at the Arena Bowl.
It's in the realm of possibility for us to talk to Jerry Kurz, Jeff Fisher.
Sure.
Are you kidding me?
Sure.
We could talk to all these people
Sure.
if we really wanted to,
Yep.
Randy.
Yep. Well, we got a few months before the season kicks off.
Let's
so
do it.
We'll see what happens.
Let's get a hold of him, Randy. Come on, you know what to do. You're retired. You got all the free time in the world. Start bugging him.
Yeah,
Send him your snail mail.
I do nothing all day.
You don't.
Yeah, I'll send them a letter. Can you look up their addresses and zip codes and
How about I just go get you some stamps?
I've got some forever stamps.
Oh, of course you do.
I just did my Christmas cards, so yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about Christmas card.
Send me a Facebook message.
All right, today's birthdays for December 17th. Linebacker Takeo Spikes turns 48 years old today. He played his college football at Auburn and was the 13th overall pick in the 1998 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. He played 15 NFL seasons. He was with the Bengals from 98 to 2002. He was with the Buffalo Bills from 2003 to 2006, Philadelphia Eagles in 2007, San Francisco 49ers from 2008 to 2010, and the San Diego Chargers from 2011 to 2012. We also have 4 obituaries today. This is where we take a moment and we honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is that of Jim Tunney, a referee in the NFL for 31 years, has passed away at the age of 95. Tunney began officiating games in the NFL in 1960 and retired in 1990. He officiated a record 29 postseason games, including 10 championship games and 3 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 6, 11, and 12. He's the only referee to work consecutive Super Bowls. He also worked the Ice Bowl game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers in 1967, and he worked the New Orleans Saints versus the Detroit Lions game in 1970 when Tom Dempsey kicked his famous 63-yard field goal. Tunney was the first official to be named to the All-Madden team in 1990 and received the prestigious Gold Whistle Award in 1992 from the National Association of Sports Officials.
Our next obituary is that of Willie Pete, an assistant coach in college and in the NFL, has passed away at the age of 87. Pete began his coaching career at the University of Arizona from 1971 to 1982. He then moved to the NFL, where he coached for the Kansas City Chiefs from 1983 to 1986, the Green Bay Packers from 1987 to 1991, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 1992 to 1994, and the Chicago Bears from 1995 to 1997. His son, Rodney Pete, was a quarterback in the NFL for 16 seasons, and his son, Skip Pete, has been an assistant coach in the NFL since 1998.
Yes, we know about Rodney Pete with the Detroit Lions. He started out there, was there for like 6 or 7 years, and then moved on to a couple other teams. I think he wound up playing for 5 or 6 different teams over the course of his career. But yeah, his name is on the wall at Eastern Michigan University, where he went to college, and so he's like in their ring of honor for that school. All right, our next obituary is that of John Riley Gunnels, Gunnels. I'm not sure if that's Gunnels or Gunnels, but I'm going to say Gunnels. A defensive end in the NFL for 7 seasons, he has passed away at the age of 87. Gunnels played college football at Georgia and was selected in the 10th round of the 1959 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles and played for the team from 1960 to 1964, winning an NFL title with the Eagles in 1960. He finished his playing career with the Steelers in 1965 and 1966.
And our final obituary this week comes from that of Jimmy Wilkerson, a defensive end in the NFL for 8 seasons, has passed away of cardiac arrest at the age of 43. Wilkerson played college football at Oklahoma and was selected in the 6th round of the 2003 NFL Draft by the Kansas City Chiefs. He played for the Chiefs from 2003 to 2007, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2008 to 2009, and the New Orleans Saints in 2010. He went on to coach at the high school level and also at FCS's Texas A&M Commerce.
All right, upcoming events calendar. Tomorrow, Wednesday, December 18th, the National Junior College Athletic Association Division I National Championship game, Iowa Western versus Hutchinson in Canyon, Texas. A lot of these lower level championship games are taking place in Texas.
Yeah, because it's a big state and it's warm down there.
Friday and Saturday of this weekend, the 12-team college football playoffs begin. Saturday the 21st, the Division II National Championship game, Ferris State versus Valdosta State in McKinney, Texas. Also that day, the NAIA National Championship game, Kaiser of Florida versus Grandview in Durham, North Carolina. Sunday, January 5th, the Division III Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl Championship game in Houston, Texas. I think that one was always in Virginia or Durham, North Carolina, somewhere on the East Coast, but now it's in Texas Houston, Texas. Monday, January 6th, the FCS National Championship game in Frisco, Texas. And Monday, January 20th, College Football National Championship game in Atlanta. That game will be on ESPN. Don't know who's going to be in that game yet. And then this is all leading up to Sunday, February 9th, Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. Okay, you were looking at your phone like something just popped up.
We had a big trade in the Canadian Football League.
Really?
And I'm shocked that, here you go. The Edmonton Elks have acquired quarterback Cody Fajardo from the Montreal Alouettes.
Really?
In exchange for McLeod Bethel Thompson. So,
wow.
A big CFL trade. That's right. If you're not following the CFL, I mean, Cody Fajardo just won a Grey Cup with the Alouettes a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
McLeod Bethel Thompson a couple years ago, I guess last year was Fajardo. 2 years ago, McLeod Bethel Thompson won the Grey Cup with the Argos.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of Grey Cup winning quarterbacks changing teams going into 2025.
You said Fajardo's going to the Elks?
Yep.
But they got Trey Ford.
They do have Trey Ford.
Oh my gosh, poor Trey Ford. It's not enough that he plays well and they're looking to him to be the quarterback of the future. Now you got to bring in Cody Fajardo to mess things up there.
I don't know what the Elks are doing, but what a move.
Yeah, well, the Elks definitely need some help. They were one of the worst teams last year, so.
But does that McLeod Bethel Thompson improve the Alouettes? I liked Fajardo with the.
Yeah, he was
Alouettes.
he was a surprise there for the last 2 seasons, and he had him right back in the conference championship game in the East Division. So yeah, I don't know what to think of this. I'm gonna
have to ask Tim what he thinks of this.
I have not had time to process this because you just told me about this, so I don't know. But.
Yeah, what a shock there.
It is. That is big news.
Yeah, I just was happening to scroll and I saw that, and that's some big news.
Let's see. Anything else before we close this show up for today?
I don't think there's any other news. I'm scrolling rapidly to find anything, and I'm not seeing anything. So we're probably good.
Okay. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us guys sitting here in Kalamazoo talking about football. Until next time when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm still in shock of that big CFL trade.
And we'll see you all next week.